All right, sorry I'm late there, friends. But damn it, got to get this microphone in the right place here. Hang on. Terribly sorry. Yes, Kingsway, I know I'm not on time. Sue me. I've got a lot to go over here with you guys here today, and you're going to be glad that you see every little bit of what I'm going to share with you here today, because it's just as powerful, it's just as big as what I shared with you last week. If you didn't watch last week, you better go back and watch it, because that's how beneficial it is for you to learn all of that. And we got another program today. It's going to be just as beneficial, where you're going to realize, yeah, all of that bear market stuff, all that bearish sentiment, it's all bullcrap from a bunch of illiterate imbeciles that have no idea what they're talking about. And it's so bad. It's so bad, like the illiteracy of these bears, that you're going to be thinking, like, are they in on some kind of con? Are they in on some kind of scam here? Because, like, once you know what I'm going to show you, you're going to see, well, there's no reason at all to feel bearish. And then you're going to be really mad, too, at some of the other mainstream crypto influencers and streamers, because you're going to be like, why haven't you people talked about this stuff yet? All these years that I've been watching, I mean, it's now Discover Crypto, but when I was watching BitBoy, never mentioned the debt cycle. Crypto Banter, hey, Rand Nooner, why have you never mentioned the debt cycle? Wendy O, why haven't you mentioned it? You do a pretty thorough job most of the time, why haven't you? Or how about Ivan on Tech? Oh, yes, we're pushing the button. Yes, oh, this Fugazi. Pelicans, why is it going down? Got so little respect for that guy now, and it's sad because, man, I had a lot of respect for him. And it turned out that he was just another imbecile that thinks it's all about technical analysis. That's another thing I got to bring up here again, guys. If anybody that you're watching is covering technical analysis, unsubscribe and block them, because they're absolute imbeciles. That's why people focus on technical analysis. Well, here's the deal. They stream every day and they have to have something to talk about. There's not something to talk about every single day. That's why I don't stream every single day. I mean, I know that you guys probably would like to see more of me getting on here and talking a whole bunch of trash, but I'm sorry, there's not enough stuff to cover every single day here for me to do that. If there was, I would, but I'd much rather give like very highly substantive streams here to you where you learn something new than just covering a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter, like technical analysis. But that's the main reason why people are doing technical analysis. If you see somebody else that's doing it and they're doing it all the time and they swear that it actually means something, kick them to the curb. Just kick them to the curb. I'm talking idiots like Ivan on Tech. I'm talking idiots like Frankie Candles, and real big dumb idiots like Joshua Jake. Yeah, Josh, I'm calling you out again here. You're a really stupid, ignorant boy, and you're a thief. And if you are going to be like, oh, how can I lose me? Get on stream with me, and I'll show you exactly why you're a very stupid, ignorant boy. All right. Anyways, what I'm going to show you today, you're going to be very glad that you were here for it. This might be a delay here between this stream and the next stream. I do got another thing I want to show you all about the U.S. Treasury debt and how big it's going to be. Kingsway, I might have something for you guys next week, but it'll be a once a week thing at best here. See, I got to work on my other business because, man, when you guys see what I show you right here, you're going to be wanting to earn as much money as you possibly can so you can buy as much crypto as you possibly can. I guarantee you that. I got to go work in my other business, reinventideal.com. If you hadn't seen that, I mean, it's mainly for guys. So if you're a guy out there that feels depressed, like you want to know what to do when you're depressed and no one cares because you're not a chick, well, then come over to reinventideal.com and I will help you out there. But I'm also be working on something else here. Like way back when I first got into crypto, I got into it as a skeptic. See, I didn't believe that it was any good at all. Didn't think it was ever going to do anything. I thought it was a scam. And so I started researching it because I wanted to tell people what a stupid scam it was and why they were all so stupid for investing in it. But the more I researched it, the more I became convinced of the opposite, that it's not a scam. And one of the things that I came across in my research, one of the things that I was looking at, I mean, I looked at everything, I read as many books as I could, and I took as many courses as I could. But one of the things that I took was Charlie and Miguel's, that's a Cultivate Crypto and Dollar Cost Crypto on YouTube. I took their course. It's called the Crypto Mindset course. I've taken that course twice, actually. But here's the thing. If you're a total beginner, it's not for you. They say it is, so I was about, nope, it's not for you if you're a total beginner. So I'm going to make something for the total beginners. So you take my course here, then you can go take their course. Mine's going to be super cheap. Like theirs is very expensive. Mine's going to be cheap because I want you to be able to like use it in order to help onboard your friends and family. Like you could say like, hey, why don't you just take this course here? Yes, Kingsway, this is Pulse Chain. My chain right here. Yep. You know, I got to represent it out in public and everything. Yes, this is Pulse Chain. I forget where I got it, but it's very easy to find. Very easy to find. What else did I want to say before we get started here? Oh, yeah. Any bears out there? I'm inviting you. Get on a stream with me. We'll have RH Max host it so that so I'm not just going to scream over you like Anna Kasparian going, ah! I'm not going to do that. Be very civil and respectful to you. You see me at Pulse XCon when I was on the debate panel? Did I yell and shout and scream at anybody? No. I was very respectful, even though I disagreed. But everybody, was on with Fast Abdul, and he and I disagree about the whole marketing thing. But there wasn't no yelling and shouting. So any bears out there that are saying it's all over, come debate it here with me. I was looking forward to getting on a stream with Jail Rat Crypto, or now I call him Chicken Rat Crypto because he totally chickened out of the debate that we were supposed to have. Completely chickened out. He agreed to it, and then he chickened out. Unbelievable. But I was looking forward to it. And I guess maybe he saw like my presentation at PulseXCon and thought, okay, yeah, there's no way I can debate this guy here. He clearly knows a lot more than me. So any bears out there, or it doesn't even have to be a debate. Well, how about maybe somebody out there in the Pulse Chain community or the HEX community or whatever? Maybe you ain't got to be in our community, but you're somebody that wants to believe in crypto. You want to invest in it, but you feel incredibly bearish. Well, you know something? You can get on a stream with me, and I'm not going to debate and badger you. What I'm going to do is I'll be like your shrink or your therapist, and I'm going to say, well, I understand why you're bearish. The reasons you're bearish are wrong, and here's why. And I'm going to show you all the reasons why I'm bullish, and if this doesn't convince you, nothing will. I'm happy to do that. If there's any bears out there, I see you guys post all the time on Twitter saying stuff like, oh, it's all over, the cycle's done. And then when I put a reply there, it says, hey, do you feel convicted in that assertion enough to get on a stream with me and debate it? No response. No response. But let's get into today's stuff here. Maybe like what we should start with is what the market is doing today and look at the usual metrics that really matter. The things that some bears have tried telling me don't matter. XY. Dollar cost, the dollar index. Yeah, somebody tried telling me this doesn't matter. Well, it's up today and crypto is flat. So clearly it does matter. Most important thing in all of investments is the 10-year Treasury. It's kind of flat. A little bit flat right there, just right at the 4.4%. So not too much change from like where it was last we saw it. And that's why crypto's pretty flat right now too. Come over here, look, coin market. How's that? Got a little bit of upward movement here in Bitcoin and Ethereum. XRP was higher earlier in the week. It was like 358 to 321. Cardano looked better. Everything kind of down. Like I remember when Sui was like pushing $4 earlier in the week. Okay. Okay, I hope I'm back. You guys let me know in the chat there. Hey, is it working? Have I expressed how many times have I expressed how much I hate ghetto ass YouTube for being so ghetto and having like all these technical problems? Can we not stream with ease? Is that really too much to ask for? Apparently, yeah. Apparently, it is too much to ask for. Oh well. Okay. So let's go back to sharing the screen here with Coin Market Cap. What was I looking at? Or what was it that I wanted to look at? It's just going to take forever to load here. So you know what? Never mind. Screw you, Coin Market Cap. This is what I'm pretty content with right here. Is when we look at the Richard Hart coins, yeah, they're flat. They're not where they were earlier in the week, but they have gone down a lot worse here than this. Like I remember like seeing this Pulse Chain's HEX had gone up to 0.008 and then gone down to 0.006. So I'm content with it being here at 0.00727, at least for right now. Especially like since I know what's coming and everything. So I'm not upset about this here at all. I mean, yeah, we want this to be a lot higher, but pretty good considering what's going on right now. And what's going on right now? Well, we'll talk about that here. Let's see what's there's a bunch of stuff on CNBC here today. Oh yeah, this was an interesting right here. You can see the tension in this clip. I wish I could play it, but maybe we can't play nothing on YouTube because they love to just copyright strike everything. We can't play nothing at all. No, I would love to play for you guys, but what you would see here is there is some serious tension between Trump and Powell, and it was caught on camera here. It's a very interesting clip to watch, so go ahead and check it out when you get a chance. So Trump goes to visit the Federal Reserve here today, and really nothing happens. I think it was not going to be a big event that causes anything to happen with the markets or anything, but it really confirms that there's a lot of tension here between Trump and Powell. And this has me thinking that maybe nothing parabolic happens until next year when Powell leaves, or if he resigns early, or he has a change of heart. He could always have a change of heart, but I just don't see that happening with all this tension that I'm seeing between the two of them. Never say never, though, in this business. Now, here's something that really caught my eye earlier today, though. PNC announces a strategic partnership with Coinbase. Now, PNC, it's not JP Morgan Chase. It's not Bank of America. It's not some real big bank. It's a pretty small regional bank. But for them to be announcing a partnership with Coinbase, what this tells me here is that many banks are going to be doing this or already doing this, making it very easy for money to go in and out of crypto. And it all relates to what I want to cover here today. But one other thing I wanted to bring up here, y'all probably seen this, something that Richard posted about how you had Hester Pierce and Mark Uyeda. They were protesting most of the other crusades that the SEC was doing against a lot of these other crypto companies, like Cumberland, Payward, Consensus, Coinbase, CZ. But everybody, all five of these commissioners, were all in agreement. Oh, let's go after that Richard Hart guy. You guys need to get down on your knees every day and thank whatever God you believe in that we had the judge, that we had Carroll, we had Judge Carroll for a judge, because look at all this here. I guarantee you that not a darn one of these five commissioners understand how HEX works or how PulseX works or Pulse Chain. I guarantee you, not a damn one of them can tell you what the purpose of the code is. They can tell you what the purpose of the project is. They couldn't tell you how to even get on and buy it on PulseX. They couldn't even tell you how to move money from Ethereum to Pulse Chain, or the fact that you would need to do it. They probably don't know a damn thing about these assets that they prosecuted. They just took one look at it and took one look at Richard Hart and were like, oh, gotta go after him. He's clearly a scammer. Man, we were rarely lucky that we had Auntie Carol as our judge, who took an honest look at it, used her damn brain, and came to the conclusion, yeah, this is bullcrap what you 5 idiots at the SEC are doing. Now, I'm thinking probably for some of them, the deal was like so many lawsuits were being brought forth by Gensler, they didn't have the time to look into every single one of them. So they just looked at the big ones. This was one of the small ones, and they figured it was like some of the other small scams out there. That's probably what went on here. It's a really good thing that we had who we had for a judge. Otherwise, could have been tied up in court. Things could have been a lot worse. All right. Now, here's what I really want to talk about today. Last week, I showed you why the 4-year cycle happens and how it's not really the 4-year cycle. It's just parallel correlation with the debt cycle. Anybody want to dispute me on that? I'm happy to debate you. I'm happy to set you straight. I am begging somebody out there, try taking me on with it. Try doing it. I'm happy to talk about it. But this week, here's what I want to talk about. What if the price of Bitcoin is actually just another puppet dancing to a very familiar tune? Not the halving cycle. Not the moon phase. It's not even Elon Musk's Twitter feed. But what if it's dancing to the flow of credit and capital? I mean, we kind of went over this last week with showing you the debt cycle. But what I showed you last week, what my thesis there was, is that when the United States government issues all sorts of debt, the Federal Reserve is going to have to move in and buy it all because nobody else is willing to buy it. And that is going to be a whole lot of money printing. But what if there was money printing from another source? And also, what if somebody else started buying a whole bunch of Treasury debt besides the Federal Reserve, and this person, this other entity that buys a whole bunch of Treasury debt besides the Federal Reserve, it is extremely, can't emphasize this enough, extremely favorable for crypto. I mean, this one thing happening is going to be one of the best things that you could possibly imagine happening in your lifetime, like sex with Sydney Sweeney. That's how amazing this is going to be. I mean, this is why I got on the thumbnail. We're possibly looking at the potential of $20,000 Ethereum and then $7 HEX. And that HEX that I'm talking about that could go to $7, I'm talking about EHEX. So the one that supposedly has less pumpamentals than the other. Imagine what Pulse Chain version of HEX is going to do. Yes, it's possible, guys. This isn't just hopium or anything. You're probably wondering, well, like, how do you make that happen here? I'm going to show you. Just make sure you pay attention to this whole stream and make sure that you're watching here. You want to watch because I'm going to show you some charts here, like I did at the PulseXCon, like I did last stream. You're going to want to see these charts. So, if there's one postulate or axiom or theorem that I would tattoo across the forehead of every would-be crypto investor, it's this. The most important variable in profitable trades or profitable investing, it isn't vibes, it isn't network effects, it isn't market sentiment, it isn't halvings, and it isn't, number go up. It's the pace at which imaginary government money is being conjured into existence. I'm talking specifically about the supply of fiat. Now, you notice everybody kind of talks about global M2. It's a big deal. Why is it a big deal? Man, that's fiat worldwide. It's that tedious river of digital IOUs that are gushing out of the bowels of central banks like a laxative after a curry. Now, this matters for every financial investment, not just Bitcoin, but specifically for Bitcoin. It matters more than matters more than your internet connection during a sell-off. Why is that? It's because Bitcoin has a fixed supply, and that doesn't change. Just sits there like a smug little monk. It's unaffected by the whims of politicians and unaffected by any other world events, unaffected by all of that. We got a fixed supply of Bitcoin, but we got an infinite supply, figuratively, of fiat, which is what Bitcoin is measured in. And as you know, when Bitcoin goes up, the altcoins soon follow. I mean, if Bitcoin faults, well, then the alts take a Jurassic shit. When Bitcoin has a wet dream, well, then the altcoins have a massive orgy. So when you print trillions of dollars and they all start chasing the same 21 million Bitcoin, the result is entirely predictable. It's just Bitcoin ascends and has these parabolic runoffs. It's like a helium balloon in a room full of asthmatics. And when the alts go up even higher with God candles that dwarf Bitcoins, it's all just a line of dominoes, guys. So I say, like, this is what all the institutions know that most retail investors don't. This is what Richard Hart knows when he makes his Bitcoin top calls. Everybody thinks it's like this impossible, super genius, godlike power that he doesn't know. No, he just understands the debt cycle very well. And this is why Eric Wall made all those bets, or tried making all those bets with like every single hexagon out there, because he understood the debt cycle. You guys got to get this through your skulls here. I know that every other streamer out there is not talking about it. Well, they need to start talking about it. If they don't talk about it, then I don't think they have a full understanding of what causes crypto to go up and what causes it to go down. All right. Now, 2 days ago, I found some new information about this debt cycle that we're in. Some new information here. If you haven't looked at Arthur Hayes' Medium, that's something you want to check at least once a month to see what he posts there, because he posts some really good stuff. Really good stuff here that's going to like give you the hopium that you're looking for, the hopium that I provide for you. A lot of it is he and I just do like a Vulcan mind meld a lot. Because what I'd seen in his latest column here is that the amount of money that's about to be printed into existence this time around, it's even bigger than I said it would be last week on my stream last week. It's so big that, like, if you think it's just going to be $10,000 Ethereum, you're not dreaming big enough, darling. We're looking at $20,000 Ethereum. It is a real possibility. And when Ethereum is 20,000, what do you think Pulse Chain's going to be? Since like the majority of its treasury is in Ethereum, what do you think EHEX is going to be? What do you think PHEX is going to be? Because you see, both HEX versions of HEX are leveraged plays on Ethereum. But right now, everybody's still all bearish. Everybody's still thinking, oh, ain't nothing but bad going on. Like, the whole financial world just sounds like this really depressed band that's tuning their instruments. Well, everyone is having a political argument. Everybody's bitching about tariffs or wars or rate hikes or China, debt ceilings. But even with all this crap going on, there's one thing that keeps happening. There's one constant metronome that the entire orchestra is. Maybe they're not even hearing it, but it's there. Credit creation. Boom, 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 boom. You notice that whenever we look at an orchestra, I mean, imagine like they probably get like a conductor or something that does it. But a lot of the members of the orchestra, they have a metronome. It's that thing that you see on like pianos that go kind of like a hand, kind of like a hand of a clock. But when we have this constant creation of credit, that is new money being put into existence. Now, right now, it's a pretty steady creation of credit. I'll show you the charts and everything soon. It's a very steady thing. But once we get to a certain point, it's going to be zoom, real big amount of credit entering the system. That's new liquidity. That's new money being printed. A lot of that new money is going to end up in crypto. I'll tell you how. But a lot of people are asking about like, well, what about the tariffs? What about China? What about the war on Ukraine? What about the war in Israel? Won't these things tank the market? I mean, those things matter, but they're not the conductor. See, what they are is they're just very small instruments in the orchestra. So you think of like a whole world economy, the whole world ecosystem. It's all one big orchestra. And all these things like China, like Ukraine, like the war in the Middle East, they're all bad, yes, but they're not going to ruin the song. It's not like, somebody crashing a cymbal at the wrong time and that totally ruins the symphony that we're trying to play. It's more like, that little triangle. I forget what it's called, but there's a triangle that you go. That's what these things are like. They're very small in comparison. And I'll tell you why. Think about China for a moment here. The U.S. is not going to be able to slap any meaningful tariffs on China because if we do, well, they'll retaliate by choking off the rare earth exports. We need China for the rare earth exports. Now, why do we need them? Why do we need them for that? I mean, these rare earth exports, there's a bunch of them in your phone. It helps you create. The mechanisms that run your phone. But I think why the U.S. really wants to use them is that they help us make war machines. And right now, we're kind of involved in 2 wars here. You see, if we don't get our rare earth exports, well, then the U.S. can't build smart bombs and then gift wrap them to send to Zelensky and Netanyahu for them to fight their wars. So that means that Washington and China are stuck in this mutually assured economic dependency. It's like it's hostile enough to stir up nationalism, but it's also cooperative enough to keep it going. Kind of think of it as like a marriage between 2 people that hate each other, but they want to stay together for the sake of appearance or for the sake of the kids. That's what's going on with the U.S. and China. It doesn't mean that we're a happy couple that's having sex every night. And what it could mean is that we're murmuring things under our breath and being very passive aggressive with each other, having a Cold War. But we're still married, still in the same house. We can't get too nasty. Can't fight in front of the kids. Oh, something I want to say about that here. Like, if you're a parent, I don't mean to give you like no parenting advice here if you're a parent, but I gotta say, if you fight in front of your kids, you do not love your kids. Don't do that. Please don't. My parents hated each other and they kept that no secret, and it was a very traumatizing thing for me to see as a kid. So if you're a parent, do not fight in front of your kids. If you do fight in front of your kids, you don't love them, and somebody should take your kids away. But let's get back to crypto. I don't want to get too sidetracked. So here's where it gets spicy. The U.S. is going to be making some major, I guess you could say, investments in industrial policy. When we say industrial policy, though, here's what I want you to think of. Think of it as state-sponsored capitalism. It's what China does. Want to hear another word for it? Fascism. Or socialism, like what corporate welfare socialism. Corporate socialism is what it is. You see, American corporations, if you leave them to their own devices, they would rather sell you a stupid dating app that nobody uses and is going to lose a whole bunch of money for the shareholders. They'd rather sell you a dating app than manufacture a single bolt for a missile. All right? They'd much rather produce Bumble than produce Stark Industries or Wayne Enterprises. Well, again, with Wayne Enterprises, they were kind of against, they were against weapons. Bruce Wayne didn't want them to be manufacturing weapons. But think of Stark. Think of Stark Industries with Tony Stark and how he found out that his company was manufacturing bombs that were being used in a way that he didn't like and everything. Companies don't want to do that. They don't want to be manufacturing bombs. But Uncle Sam wants to produce bombs so he can sell them to our allies that are involved in all these wars so that we don't have to be fighting the wars ourselves. So what Uncle Sam does is they step up like a war-crazed sugar daddy, and they say, well, you know what? We'll foot the bill if you build the stuff that goes boom. Think about the Great Depression. I don't know if they teach this in school properly. Because when I was in school, they taught me very improperly what got us out of the Great Depression. They said the New Deal did it. FDR and his New Deal is spending all sorts of money and creating all sorts of socialism, like Social Security. That got us out of the Great Depression. No, it did not. What got us out of the Great Depression was World War II. Because you had 16 million boys that were previously unemployed Now they're employed because they all got drafted to war. And then you had all this spending by the United States government to build bombs and build bullets, build guns, manufacture guns, manufacture bullets. That's what got us out of the war. Or that's what got us out of the Depression, was World War II. The Great Depression, like it was started in 1929, and it's called the Great Depression because we stayed in it all the way up until 1941, a whole 10 years. Like the rest of the world just calls it the Depression. Only in the United States do we call it the Great Depression because of how long it lasted. Because everything FDR wanted to do to fix it, none of it was working. So that war, World War II, it really was God's gift to FDR. Is what really saved him there. Because then you could say, oh, not only did I help us win World War II, but I got us out of the Great Depression. You see, it's not just patriotism. You see, there's economics involved in war here because you see, war spending is going to boost employment. It's going to fatten corporate profits. And it looks like growth. I mean, it isn't, but it looks like growth. And once the government guarantees profits, they say, hey, you, Mr. Smith & Wesson, go ahead and manufacture a whole bunch of bullets, a whole bunch of guns, and we're going to buy them. That's a guaranteed profit for Smith & Wesson. So banks who would normally be monitoring and guarding their credit like a boomer guards their digestives, well, suddenly they're going to start flinging around credit like confetti because it's risk-free now that the government is guaranteeing profits. They got a buyer that never goes bankrupt, the government. All right? So banks are going to lend more to businesses, and when banks lend more, they lend, the money that they lend is created out of thin air. I said this last week here, I'll say it again. When you take out your credit card and you charge $100 to it, the $100 that you spent on your credit card, it didn't exist before. It was created right there on the spot. When banks lend money, the money that they lend, it is not your deposits at the bank. It is not money from their coffers or from their vaults. It's money that's created right there on the spot. We've had Richard say this here once on a bunch of his streams that when banks lend out money, what they're lending out is inflation. It's newly created money. It is not the deposits of the bank. So when you have a government that wants to fund war operations, or really just operations, doesn't even have to be war, but they want to fund a whole bunch of operations, and it requires work from the private economy to do it, from private businesses to do it. The government is guaranteed buyer and guaranteed customer of those private businesses. Those businesses can go to a bank and say, hey, we want to borrow some money so we can create a product that we can sell to the government. And the bank says, sure, go for it. It's a guaranteed customer. We're happy to finance it. All right? The brand new money is backed up by your deposits, but it's brand new money that's created. So it's not really capitalism. It's just economic cosplay. And when the bank dishes out more money in the form of lending, new money is entering the economy, and it goes off like a geyser, especially during wartime. It goes up like a geyser. I like to call this the credit cum shot after years of banking blue balls. Am I being too vulgar today? I'm sorry if I am. Cover your kids' ears because I'm going to be pretty vulgar today. But what the government or CNBC is going to call strategic investment or critical infrastructure, or maybe they'll call it Operation Defend Freedom from Global Doom. Well, what happens then is that low liquidity assets are going to start creeping higher. Because remember, when you got low liquidity, but then you have a whole bunch of new money being created that could potentially enter into those liquidity pools, that's going to cause those things to go up because that's new liquidity that can enter the market. Markets like to front run new liquidity coming in too. And when we got something specific like Bitcoin that has a fixed supply, but infinite demand, and what it's being measured in, the fiat dollars, is infinite figuratively, boom. So it doesn't care about geopolitical nuance. It doesn't care who's president or whether the UN passed a resolution. It just reacts to one thing that matters, and that's how much money is sloshing around. And it's coming. Oh, it's coming. Because you see, the U.S. is running out of weapons to sell to Ukraine, to sell to Israel. It's also running out of patience, and it's running out of votes. You see, the only way to win re-election with all the stagnation that we've been having here is to supercharge the economy through debt, through war, and I guess you could say cheerfully reckless credit creation. And that's how Bitcoin, the outsider, ends up rising despite uh, this. It ends up rising not despite the system, but because of the system. Now, what happened earlier or I think it was last week, actually. Yeah, what happened last week? There was something or actually over the weekend is when it got signed. Remember what happened this weekend, guys? Yeah, let me ask the chat right here. Hey, chat, what was it that got signed into law this weekend? Go ahead, I'll wait. Nobody know? Come on now. One of y'all got to know. Come on, don't disappoint me. I like to think that my audience here is like one of the most educated audiences. You guys got to know what happens. Anybody want a little hint? I mean, let's see. Okay, here's a hint. Oh, no, Johnny Chaos. Thank you. Well, all right. Thank you, Johnny Chaos. My hint was going to be Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory was labeled one of these. But yeah, Johnny Chaos said the Genius Act. And you are right, Johnny. It is the Genius Act. Hey, what did the Genius Act regulate? It regulated stablecoins. And a lot of people let out like this really big sigh of like, well, wait a minute, stablecoins? Why are you guys regulating stablecoins here first? Like, why is that your priority? Oh, I'm going to tell you today. When I tell you why stablecoins was the government's priority, you're going to be more excited than you've ever been in your entire life. You'll be more excited than a virgin on her wedding night. That's how excited you're going to be here when you realize why. You realize why they prioritize stablecoins, because it's 100% in your favor as a crypto investor that they passed that act when they did. And it all comes together. It's all going to come together here, guys. Because you see, crypto's market, when the market cap balloons, chunks of that balloon kind of get sliced off and parked somewhere. I'll get to that in a little bit here. But with the government doing what it wants to do, I mean, I showed you guys last week how much debt it has to reissue. A lot of that debt is going to be reissued, and a lot of new debt is going to be issued in the form of treasury bills. Not bonds, but bills. This is like very technical right here. It's kind of inside baseball, but I think it helps you to know this here, is that treasury bills are really, they're bonds, but they only last for 1 year or less. And then treasury notes, well, they're also bonds, but they last anywhere between 2 and 10 years. And then treasury bonds, they are bonds that last anywhere from 10 to 30 years. So when you think about, like, how you organize these, or how they're given different names based on how long they go till maturity, till the bond ends. Just here's the trick that I used to teach my students way back when I was teaching this stuff here is bill knows bonds. All right. Because first comes bills, that's 1 year or less. Then notes, that's 2 to 10 years. And then bonds, that's 10 to 30 years. All right. So the U.S. Treasury is going to be issuing a ton of bills, a ton of super short-term debt. Why are they doing that here? Well, the reason why is because Trump, he wants to help finance a war, to help fund or help Ukraine and Israel fight their enemies. But he also wants to keep the economy going without spooking Wall Street. Because you see, if we issue a whole bunch of bonds, a whole bunch of like those long-term treasury bonds, or even the notes, that is going to cause the 10-year treasury yield to go up higher, and that makes Wall Street freak out when the 10-year treasury yield goes up. So how is he going to help fund the wars in Ukraine and Israel? How is he going to help fund the government operations without having a mass negative detrimental effect on the 10-year treasury? Because even if we issued them all 30-year bonds, well, the 10-year treasury reflects an average of all bonds. And then if we just did 5-year bonds or 2-year bonds, still that's going to affect the 10-year treasury. But something that has like the most minimal effect on that treasury yield is the short-term 1 year or less T-bills. That's what we do. We roll out the red carpet for T-bills. And really what you're doing is you're rolling out the red carpet for TradFi, because traditional finance, they now get to stroll right into crypto's existence right here. You see, We don't have any more of those dirty looks from those 5 idiots at the SEC that are going, oh, they're unregistered securities. Ah. And we got no more of that. What is Ethereum? We got no more hearings from senators who still use AOL and they go, what's Ethereum? Or how about Elizabeth Warren, who goes, oh, with Bitcoin is what they are using to launder money so that they could sell drugs. Or who about that one dummy? What was it? I think it's Sherman. Is it Brad Sherman or something? The guy looks like, man, you would never leave your kid alone in a room with that guy. No, you would never do that. Like, say I was a woman with a little son, and my little son had to go use the bathroom, and this Sherman guy was in it. I'd be like, you're coming in the woman's bathroom with me. If I was a woman, that's exactly what I'd do, because this guy does not look like a safe figure to leave your kid around. That's how creepy he is. And he apparently says that Bitcoin was created by a woman. Did you know this? Did you hear him when he said this? It was a while back here, but he thinks that the creator of Bitcoin was a woman because he called them Saratoshi. Yeah, Saratoshi created Bitcoin in Mr. Sherman's eyes. That's how stupid these boomers are on Capitol Hill. All right? Now, why am I bringing all this up right here, okay? I'll tell you exactly why I'm bringing all this up. You see, there's a reason why Trump is as pro-crypto as they come. It was a really big flip for him. Like, I was so happy when I heard him say, oh, yeah, I'm totally cool with crypto now. I mean, that was something like, oh, my God. I wasn't a supporter before. I was a supporter then. All right? Because before, he was very, I don't know if he was ever anti-crypto, but he was very anti-Bitcoin. Like, one time, like, way back in like 2021, he just said, yeah, Bitcoin's a big pile of crap. I think it sucks. It doesn't want his exact words, but it was what every hater has ever said about it. He sounded a lot like Peter Schiff. But he's flipped. And he's very pro-crypto now. Why is that? You ever wonder, like, what was it that did it? A lot of people think, well, his sons, like Eric Trump and Don Jr. and Barron Trump, probably told him, hey, Dad, this is a great way for young people to get rich. Might have something to do with it, but I think here's the real reason why, is because they just discovered that they can use crypto to finance the government. And I'll tell you how here, and this is going to make you really excited. But let's talk a little bit more here about like the mechanics of all this. So central banks are printing money to buy U.S. government debt. That's what I said is going to happen last week. That's why I showed you that the Federal Reserve, the central bank, is going to have to buy a bunch of this government debt coming out so they can do what's called yield curve control. That's just a way of like keeping the 10-year treasury from going haywire. I mean, if the 10-year treasury went to like, say, 7%, oh my God, it's chaos. It'll be absolute apocalypse. All right. That will happen again here where the central bank steps in. The Federal Reserve steps in to buy a whole bunch of treasury debt to keep the treasury yields down. They did it in 2008, but somebody else is going to step in this time. Now it's going to be commercial banks. And it's not just going to be that they're going to buy a whole bunch of government debt. Yeah, they're going to do that. But they're going to do something else. They're going to be forced to lend money. Not to you, not to me. We're just a bunch of peasants here. Not to us, but they're going to be forced to lend money to very critical industries. Critical industries, which is the polite term for things the government suddenly realized it should have been doing all along. All right? Because you see, the U.S., our country, we don't actually make things anymore. Well, we make apps, we make podcasts, we make opinions, but things, tangible things, not so much. No, we don't do that here in the United States. For the past 50 years, the ruling class figured it was more profitable to sell each other software and offload the burden of physical labor. Oh, God, I can't do that. They wanted to offload that to countries that they couldn't point to on a map. And the Chinese, in the meantime, they were busy learning how to build everything from headphones to hypersonic missiles. And guess what? They got really good at it, or they at least got very efficient at it. That brings us to rare earth metals. This is why Trump can't hit too hard at China, because we depend on them too much for rare earth minerals and metals. and substances. They're not actually rare. They're not actually rare. It's just very difficult to get out of the earth here, and especially with all the environmental regulations that we have here in the United States. But over in China, they don't give a shit. They're happy to destroy the environment for the United States. So yeah, all you people that are so concerned about global warming and everything, and you think the U.S. is the most horrific offender of it, anything that the U.S. has ever done, it's this big. Everything that China is doing right now and does every year is this big. We're totally dwarfed here as far as our effect on the planet. So shut up. Sorry, I get a little distracted here because that issue really ticks me off. Because back when I was in college, I was a true believer. I was a super environmental activist type because I wanted to get laid from all the hippie chicks. And I'm not talking about the hairy, ugly hippies. I mean, these were the hippies that were hot, like the yoga chicks and everything. So I wanted to get close to them. So I was a real super believer in all this crap right here. But then the more I researched it, the more I came to the realization that, a lot of this environmental movement stuff is bull crap. It's all just a money racket. But getting off subject here again. Sorry. So here was the deal. All right, you had all these rare earths that we need to get from China. We need them particularly for every modern weapon system that we want to sell to Ukraine, that we want to sell to Israel. We're talking radars, lasers, guided missiles. They all need rare earths. Where is all that processed? China. And because it's dirty, because it's difficult, because it's expensive, and because Americans decided they would much rather let TikTok spy on them than go work in a mine in Nevada, China controls the materials that keep America's death machines humming. All right? And that is a big problem when you're trying to enforce freedom through airstrikes. It's a real big problem. Yeah. Asana, I would like to see that too here with Johnny. Anytime you want to stream, you just say so. I'll be happy to get on stream here with you. But what I wanted to say here about these rare earths and why they're so important here, and how China controls them all. What's Trump going to do? Well, he's going to copy the Chinese playbook. So I'm going to show you this here next. There's a deal that's kind of being held up right now. And it's from some very, very important players involved here. I wanted to bring up this company to show you. You may not have heard of it before. I hadn't heard of them before until I had seen Arthur Hayes' new article here. MP Materials. You might think, well, what's this here? What's this? Well, these are the guys. This is the company that is involved in the mining and manufacturing and production, or I guess you could say refinement and distribution of rare earths. And they're going through a deal right now that's a really big deal. And when they are going through this here, it's going to have a huge effect on the global economy. Why is that? Well, you see, it's a glorious exercise here in capitalist cosplay because the government is going to become the biggest shareholder of this company. The biggest shareholder of this mining company, and what they're promising, what they're going to be promising is to buy rare earths at double the current Chinese market price. Because you see, there's a bidding war that's going to happen between us and China for what MP Materials produces. So it's not really a market. It's more like a charity gala where the price is slowly working its way up, or really it's increasingly working its way up. We can easily outspend China because of our money printer and having the world reserve currency. So it's probably going to be like a charity gala for Lockheed Martin or General Dynamics, right? So let's recap what's going on here. The Department of Defense, the people who couldn't account for $3 trillion last, they're now going to be MP Materials' new sugar daddy. The government is going to promise to buy the rare earths at a substantially marked up price to what China is willing to pay for them, probably twice the rate, because who doesn't love paying more for the same thing during wartime? And then banks like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, what are they going to do about this? They're going to be thrilled to lend $1 billion to build a factory. $1 billion going to MP Materials so they can build a factory to refine these rare earths. And why? Why are they going to be thrilled to do it? because the government came in and quietly whispered to them, hey, we're backing this thing up so you guys can't lose. That's the trick. That's how you create money from nothing. A little regulatory sleight of hand, a government guarantee, and poof, you've turned a military-industrial grift into GDP. Yeah. Here's, let me go over it again real slowly for the people that still believe in PDI. Credit creation is economic growth now. The government picks a winner, the banks finance the winner, and the taxpayer foots the bill, usually without being told. And all of this will continue. The dance is not going to stop because wars aren't just good for ratings, they're also good for credit. And the more fiat that gets created, when we have more fiat being created and it's perceived as infinite, well, then anything that is finite becomes priceless. I want to show you this here. Get the screen sharing back on here again, just to kind of give you like an idea of how does this look on a, I need the screen. I want to show you this here so you get an idea of how does this look, or how does the mechanics of this work when all the players involved do what they do here. This is from Arthur Hayes' Maelstrom company, and they just wanted to show you like how this looks on an accounting ledger when MP Materials goes to get a loan to build a factory, and then when the government guarantees the purchase of anything produced at that factory, and then how this also affects the Federal Reserve's balance sheet with the treasuries that are going to be used to pay for the government's purchase. So it's a little bit of a loop here. I mean, maybe this doesn't make as much sense, or maybe it's not as clear to everybody as it is to me, but when MP Materials needs a rare earth processing plants, they're not going to like buy it out of the cash at their treasury. They're going to go to like JP Morgan Chase and take out a $1,000 loan. All right. And that's $1,000 of fresh new fiat conjured into existence. Like, think of a magician that yanks a rabbit out of a hat, but the rabbit now is legal tender, and a magician is wearing a JP Morgan name tag. MP then spends that money to hire workers, which they probably call the plebs. Because, like, why pay for robots when you can underpay people with families and back pain? But JP Morgan credits the workers' accounts, and now the economy looks busy, it looks productive, and vaguely optimistic, like a depressed toddler that's scribbling around with a crayon, but then calls it fridge art. Now, it doesn't end here, because you see what happens is the Department of Defense wants those rare earths. You can't maintain global hegemony on vibes alone, so the Treasury issues some debt in the form of T-bills, and JP Morgan turns the original corporate loan into reserves through the Federal Reserve's discount window, because fractional reserve banking is really just a polite way of saying we loan out monopoly money and pray no one asks for cash, and then the Department of Defense pays MP Materials. Now MP's account is full again, and the plebs are still pretending that their wages matter, and everyone thinks the economy is growing, which it is, but it's growing like a tumor. You see, the ending balance of money in the system is higher than where we started because the money multiplier is greater than 1. A bit of like cloning cash with a Xerox machine and then pretending that it's all perfectly normal. So what have we built? We've built an economic cloning machine where every lever, every pulley is greased by freshly minted debt. And this works brilliantly, until we run into a little problem. The problem that you think we're going to run into? What do you think this is going to do to the economy? Like, why don't they do this all the time here? Because a lot of people would be thinking, well, wait a minute. If this is so great, why isn't this the economic strategy of every president? Why don't they just keep doing this forever? It's because it causes inflation. That's why. We saw it last time. Remember, after like the big Monty printing extravaganza and the end of the debt cycle in 2021, what did we have in 2022? We had some back-breaking inflation. Everything got so much more expensive. Because you see, there's only so many bodies and so many buckets of iron ore that you can throw at the problem. When you got too much fiat, too many dollar bills chasing too few goods, too few things to buy, the price of eggs goes up. Your rent goes up. Your Uber driver starts charging you more and demanding a bigger tip. This isn't hypothetical. It's history on repeat. This is the cycle playing over again. So you got government guaranteed loans, inflated bank deposits, and a self-congratulatory parade of growth metrics. It's all very lovely until the shelves at the store are empty. And then you got somebody that's, you got a whole parade of people outside chucking Molotov cocktails at the Capitol. You know who doesn't suffer? The banks. And their buddies in government. You see, they never do. Nobody ever chucks Molotov cocktails at the Capitol. Why? Why don't they? Well, because they have figured out that they can inflate the economy and direct that inflation. They can inflate the money supply, but direct all of that inflation into one bottlenecked asset. You know what it is right now? Houses. Why is housing so expensive? It's because they directed all that inflation into it. Right? So it isn't stimulus. This is wartime capital wearing a millennial's hoodie and promising prosperity. So the Department of Defense, they're going to hand out their contracts like candy. No one's going to bat an eye because it's not spending, it's defense. And banks are going to start pretending to be patriots, and they're going to start investing in any company that is remotely adjacent to the military-industrial complex. And if you squint, though, that actually includes about half of Silicon Valley. That's right. And Congress doesn't have to vote to make this happen. There's no debate. The taps are open. Everybody gets a taste. The CEOs, the workers, the contractors, the lobbyists, the senators' cousins with questionable resumes. And that's just the start. A lot of people get to pocket a lot of money. It makes the economy look like everything's going good because you got all this money sloshing around. But how do they contain the inflation beast? Because they just summoned this really big inflation beast. How do they contain it without causing economic hell? This is where bubbles happen. When you talk about like those asset bubbles, I mean, right now we got a bubble in housing. This one, though, is going to cause a bubble in crypto. Because you see, this is what happens every 4 years when the debt cycle cycles through. It causes a giant bubble in crypto. Now, I say it's not a bubble like other bubbles here because you see, all it is here is it's just crypto is trying to account for all of the new dollar bills that are in the system, just got injected into the money supply and have no place to go until people start finding other places for that money to go. That's when they cash out, they take the profits, and they go and buy Lambos and everything. But you see, the trick here is to make sure that the inflation lands in places that don't cause riots. That's what governments are trying to do. So you see, if bread triples in price, you're going to have a revolution. But if Bitcoin triples in price, well, then you've got headlines that are good. You've got hope. You've got a whole bunch of those tech bros that were originally basement dwellers that are now dating a Russian model named Yelena, who's got these 2 incredibly big watermelons in her dress. So, this is why the next great bubble isn't just allowed, it's encouraged. In fact, it's practically state sanctioned. They need you to believe. They need your dopamine, they need your liquidity, they need your piggy bank. Now, you might be saying, well, there's no evidence that this is even happening. Like, Cairo, how are you making these claims here? I mean, you're telling me that the government can direct its inflation into one asset. I don't believe that. You need to show me proof. I'm going to show you proof. All right? You want to look at a case study of this sort of economic theater? Let's look at China. See, that's a nation that took fascist economics, and they sprinkled it with a little bit of nationalism, and then they cranked out 30 years of uninterrupted credit-fueled growth. Because you see, the money supply over there in China, their M2, it grew by 5,000% over the last 35 years. And that's not really growth. It's just economic anaphylaxis is what you could call it, where they turned cities into these giant forests of ghost apartments. And people parked their savings in these empty concrete shells because real estate was the only hedge against the tidal wave of the inflation that they were about to experience. And the government even encouraged it. Why did they do that? Because they wanted the plebs in China to be too busy speculating on housing to not have the time to go storm the Central Committee with pitchforks. All right? And I'll show you exactly how they did that here. Let's see, I got a slide. that get a graphic that will show that. Let me zoom in on it. Oh wait, I gotta share my screen again. All right, the 4 here. But this is the rise in real estate values over in China over the past 20 years. All right. And what it's just showing you is like how much these things are valued compared to square footage. And what you can see from this chart right here, it's like this straight up parabolic run. All right. And then when we look at this here, I'm going to show you that this is actually the most overvalued housing market, actually. It's worse than the United States. The United States is pretty overvalued here, but over in China, it's a lot worse. Because look at this here. The top 5 most overvalued cities are all in China. Everything Beijing, Shanghai. And see what this chart is showing you, what the dot plot is showing you is like how much money you would make if you bought real estate at today's prices and then rented it out. What kind of return would you get? This is less than 2%. Less than a 2% return is what you would make on Chinese real estate. And you might be thinking, well, wait a minute. That's a bubble? Like, explain this to me here. What are you trying to show us? I'll tell you exactly, man. Land prices are up 80x in 19 years for a 26% compounded annual growth rate in China. And it's not just China. We got real estate bubbles all over the globe, including here in the United States, because what they do affects us too. What we do affects them. You see housing prices, when they go up and up, like an overachieving balloon at a child's party, well, everyone's cheering. Everybody's happy about that because they're all holding at least a little piece of real estate. And in China, the middle class were borrowing money really cheap to buy apartments, and nobody got upset about all that inflation. Nobody rioted because everyone was complicit in the fantasy that all of this money that was being printed was for the benefit of the country. Nobody cared. Nobody got upset. It's the genius of it. See, the local Chinese governments didn't even need to tax people like we do here in the United States. All you got to do is you just flog off a bunch of land to developers like raffle tickets at a school fair, have them cash in, and then pay for public services with their new monopoly money. Taxation just becomes optional at that point. Now, imagine if you're the Trump administration and you're seeing what China did with this sort of like glint in your eye. It's usually a glint in your eye that he would have back when he had the Miss Teen USA pageants, all right? And you're probably thinking, well, they can do it. Why can't we do it? See, if you want to pivot to state capitalism, and let's face it, they want to pivot to it, you need a credit-fueled bubble big enough to fund the state, but also make the commoners feel like they won something on a scratch card. And that is where the next bubble is forming. This is where it comes back to crypto here, because that is where they're going to direct their inflation. And I'll show you the mechanics here of it. This is off of the Bloomberg here. If you don't have a Bloomberg, don't worry. I will show you. Check this out. A little index being run here. The white represents money supply and credit that's available. And then the gold represents Bitcoin. I mean, you see this right here. Okay, well, yep, here was like the first run-up of Bitcoin. Here was the second run-up of Bitcoin back in the 2021 bull market. This was May. This was November, the November top right here. And then here's the 2022 bear market, 2023, well, nothing really happens. And pretty good 2024, and an okay 2025 so far. What's its relation here to this white line, though? Because the white line represents the credit. All right? I'll tell you what's happening here. All right? Imaginary money being invented. That's the white down below. And then we compare that to Bitcoin. Both at the very beginning start at the same point, January 2020. What happens next? Credit doubled in March of 2020. That was when COVID came on the scene. Credit doubled. What did Bitcoin do? It did a 15x. And that is not coincidence. It's a codependent love affair with fiat's deranged cousin. Now notice that white line, how credit has been pretty flat for the last 4 years. That's why the big blow off top in crypto has not happened yet. That's why. All right? Because the Federal Reserve hasn't allowed it to kick off yet. But when the Federal Reserve, like they just sneeze over there, well, then Bitcoin's going to put on a tuxedo and start breakdancing for us. Yep. So this is why we haven't experienced the parabolic runs that you're used to. This is why everybody's saying, oh, bull market's over. Bull market never got started because what causes it is that credit line, and that hasn't gone anywhere. Usually it's the Fed that kicks it off. This time it was going to be the Fed. It's going to be the commercial banks. It's going to be something else. So this is part I've been teasing throughout the whole stream right here. I'll tell you about it. But what I want you to take from this here is that Trump and Scott Bessent, they've seen the light. They see the genius of using crypto as the bubble of choice that this time, they use it this time here when they direct all that inflation into the crypto market. The reason why they want to do that is because the winners aren't the usual suspects. What they want to do is they want to make things permanent for their party, like way back in the Stone Age, during the Bush administration. Remember when Karl Rove, after the first midterms, I think it was the first midterms. Yeah, it was the first midterms that Bush went through. He called it the permanent Republican majority, which is laughable now considering what happened to the Republicans. But Trump and Bessent want to create that. How are they going to do that? I mean, this is how they think they're going to do it. I'm not saying that they will do it, but I'm saying how they think they're going to do it. Who's going to win when crypto goes up? It's not the usual suspects. It's not the dumb boomers. No. Because the majority of crypto investors are young people, poor people. And also, there's a lot of crypto investors that aren't the boring old white guys that you're used to. See, crypto has managed to become a populist movement that's powered by financial nihilism. It's the only market where a broke Gen Z dropout and a Qatari prince shared the same investment thesis, which is just, hey, let's YOLO this thing to the moon because number go up. So what does Trump do? Well, notice what he did recently here. He gave the green light for 401ks to plow their money directly into crypto. Those dusty old retirement vehicles for boomers. 401ks. Now we can plow them into crypto. And it's not just for boomers. Like even young people have 401ks. A lot of young people are not taking advantage of 401ks because you can't invest in crypto in them. Well, now you can. Now you can. It's just all a matter of, does your provider feel comfortable with it? If they can get that, I mean, there's 8.7 trillion in dry powder sitting there, and that could bring, even if just a fraction of that comes in, just by the laws and mechanics of liquidity, that could cause a 4x in the overall crypto market. Like right now, we're about $3.5 trillion. So we'd be getting pretty close to. Let's see, if we did that, we'd be almost $12 trillion in that. We've almost $12 trillion in crypto, or we would be 12 trillion actually. Yeah, if we had just a fraction of that come in, and it goes into XRP, goes into Solana, goes into SUI, goes into Ethereum. Hey, wait a minute. Isn't there an ecosystem out there that has most of its treasury in Ethereum? Yeah, I think I remember that there's like this ecosystem. God, I forget what it's called. But I remember like the founder of it, he actually is almost has more Ethereum than the Ethereum Foundation itself. Man, what's this thing called? Damn it, man. I'm losing my mind right here. I'm checking my pulse right here. Pulse chain, yes! Pulse chain is now the fourth largest holder of Ethereum. So when Ethereum gets a lot of that 401k money, what do you think happens to Pulse chain? But hang on. You might ask yourself this here. You might be thinking, you're sitting there going, well, Cairo, why are you so sure that a big chunk of all the new debt being created and the new credit that's going to be created, it's going to be issued by the government, going to be issued by the banks. Why are you so sure that any of that is going to go into crypto? Now, here's the fun part, the part that you've all been waiting for, the part that's going to make you more excited than you were for your first time having sex. Because this is the bow on this gift box that is crypto. See, crypto is it's a stealth mechanism for U.S. debt monetization. You see, once money enters the crypto ecosystem, a lot of times it doesn't want to leave. Think of it like a Vegas casino with no clocks. The oxygen is pumped. If an investor wants to sit out for a while, well, they don't cash out at a bank all the time. Sometimes they park their money just in stablecoins like Tether. And what do the issuers of stablecoins do with all that cash that they have in their reserves that would otherwise be sitting around doing nothing? What do they do with all that money? They buy T-bills. That's right. The thing that I made a big deal out of earlier in the stream, those short-term U.S. government debts, T-bills. Stablecoins buy those T-bills. They do. The most boring yet essential security in the known financial universe. I mean, T-bills are practically cash because they're super liquid. It's easy to get in and out of them. But they also yield over 4% now. I mean, have you seen this here? Do you guys know this? Where is that? Where did I put that thing? Hang on. Sorry, guys. Oh, yeah, here it is. So, going over here to the bond market. Look at this. A 3-month, a 6-month, a 9-month, and a 1 year. These four things here are all T-bills. All right? 4.14% for a year is how much money you can get in 1 year invested in a T-bill that is guaranteed by the government. All right? Even if you wanted to go shorter, would make a higher yield. This year, let me just tell you guys this. It says 4.35% for 3 months. That doesn't mean at the end of the 3 months, you earn 4.35%. You see, every quote that you see in the bond market is an annual quote. So what this means is that if it lasted for a year, it would earn you 4.35%. And a lot of stablecoin issuers buy these T-bills because it's risk-free, it's super liquid, they can immediately get the money back. But even if they let the money just kind of sit there, well, right now they're going to be earning 4% or more. It's very attractive for these stablecoin issuers to buy T-bills, just like money markets or the money in your bank account, your savings account. How do you think that they earn interest on that? It's not you deposit money into your savings account and they take that money and they lend it out. That doesn't happen. No, you're not getting interest from the interest on the loans where they lend the money out. Where it is you deposit money into your savings account, they take your money, they go invest it in some T-bills, and they give you the interest and they pocket some for themselves. But really, if you wanted to make a good rate on your savings, just go buy these T-bills yourself and keep all of it, not give up any of that yield to the bank. You can do that. All right? So T-bills, there's not even interest rate risk in all of these here because you actually, the further out that we go on the curve here, or further out we go here in these treasuries, when I go out 3 years, I got some risk here because when interest rates go up, the price of the bond goes down, and then the inverse is also true. When rates go down, the price of the bond goes up. But if interest rates go up, that will cause those bond prices to come down, and the longer the term on the bond, the more it will go down when rates go up. We call that duration. Duration, it doesn't mean what it sounds like. It sounds like it's talking about time. No, what it's talking about is this here. If interest rates go up 1% and the price of the bond goes down 10%, we say it has a duration of 1. That's what that means. Or no, a duration of 10 is what it means. I'm sorry. It means a duration of 10. If interest rates go up 2% and the bond goes down 20%, we got a duration of 20 in that case. All right. Or actually, it'd still be 10 once you divide it. Once you divide the fraction. But the longer the bond, the higher the duration, meaning the more volatile the price of the bond is. Like these 30-year bonds, they're so volatile, they look like crypto charts when you look at them closely. A lot of those stablecoin issuers, money markets, savings accounts, but particularly stablecoin issuers, they invest the money that they receive in T-bills. Why do they do that? Why? Well, there's a good reason why, I'm going to tell you. But here's the deal. As the crypto market cap surges, when market cap goes up for the overall crypto market, 3.5 trillion right now, You know what else happens? You know what else goes up with it? The amount of money in stable coins. It's about 10%, a little less than 10%, like 9% really. So if the crypto market cap, the entire crypto market went up to a $100 trillion market cap, well, then there would be $9 trillion in stable coins if the ratio held. Government likes that. The government likes that because that means there's $9 trillion now that will buy their debt. And they want buyers for their debt because they want to keep those interest rates on the debt down. And if they can get the crypto market to pump up to $100 trillion, I'm not saying that they're going to, but if they could, they would do it so they have another $9 trillion that they can borrow and use to fund government operations and issue more treasury bills and fund more debt. So the bigger the crypto bubble gets, the more it funds the empire's war chest, the more it funds Uncle Sam, the more it funds Washington. This is why Trump became so pro-crypto, because he saw this. He's like, wait a minute. You know what? If crypto goes up right here, well, then also the stable coins are going to go up as well here. They're going to be greater supply because money goes into the crypto ecosystem and it stays there even when they want to sell out. And when money goes from a crypto coin like HEX or Ethereum into USDC, the USDC Circle, that company, is going to take the dollars and use them to buy T-bills. And you know what? If they're buying T-bills, that means we can issue out more T-bills because then the yield is coming down since we got these buyers. That's great for us. Then I can do more of my agenda as president. I can do more of what I want. I can spend more money. Let me say that again for the people who still believe in PDI and think Ivan on Tech is a smart man. Every time crypto goes parabolic, the U.S. government smiles because it just created a permissionless, decentralized, tax advantage engine for debt monetization. I'm going to show you a little chart here that shows exactly that. Where is it? I have it up here. Yeah, I do have it. Here it is. Check this. What this shows you is the stablecoin supply and compared to the rest of the total crypto market. Doesn't this look like a perfect relationship here to you where when this purple one goes up, so does the orange? And then when it's flat, kind of stays flat, but also like, look at this here. This is what they really like. Look at this. The 2022 bear market, when everything started going down and went down very dramatically, do you see stablecoins going down dramatically? No. When money goes into crypto, it typically stays there. Because here's the thing. I think like a lot of people that have these stablecoins, a lot of it could be exchanges that are keeping it. And, what are the exchanges going to do? Are they going to actually cash out their stablecoins? No. Brian Armstrong wants to keep those stablecoins there for liquidity purposes. But I think it's also a lot of people that have their crypto on cold storage, on Trezors, on ledgers. And they think, well, let me just sell out because the bear market is coming and go into stables. And since I'm in stables, I haven't really taken my money out. I haven't off-ramped it. So I don't have to pay taxes, they think. They think they don't have to pay taxes. They do have to pay taxes. And I'm pretty sure that maybe one day the IRS is going to track these people down and send them a really nasty letter. But I guarantee you that's what a lot of these crypto bros think. They're just like, yeah, I can just leave it on my Trezor as USDC and not a bad thing is going to happen. I'm thinking that's like why those stable coins do not go down even when the total crypto market goes down. It has a little bit of a lull, comes down just a little bit, very moderately, but nowhere near as dramatic as the rest of the crypto market. But when the rest of the crypto market goes up, stable coins go up right along with it. How can you not be incredibly freaking bullish now when you see this? Because like every time the market cap sneezes upward, about a 9 to 10% increase, that's 9 cents out of every dollar gets funneled into stable coins. And they are the financial equivalent of turning around to buy war bonds with your Nana's bingo money. They shovel cash straight into U.S. Treasury bills, the safest, dullest investment in existence. It's basically a glorified IOU from a government that prints and shells out money like a drunk and horny virgin at his first strip club. So, let's say the crypto market goes to 10 trillion. A lot of people think that. Oh, yeah, crypto market go at 10 trillion. They think that's a very reasonable assumption. All right. What am I showing here? Oh, okay. I'm just showing you this here just to show like how many T-bills they issue out. I'll come back to this chart in a moment. What I wanted to talk about here with you is what do you think would happen if we do go to 10 trillion this cycle? What will happen to stablecoins? That means that the Trump administration will have an extra $1 trillion in T-bill spending power. So it really is in his best interest to push crypto up. It's even in the best interest of the damn Democrats that hate crypto, because while they hate crypto, they love wasting and spending taxpayer money. They love borrowing and spending money at the expense of the taxpayer. When crypto goes up, they get to piss away more money on bullshit. So that's why all of Washington is going to be united in all of this here. Now, why T-bills? That's what this chart is all about. Let's go back to World War II. Think about World War II here, because this shows that era. Like, 1941 is like the Pearl Harbor that goes on here. Pearl Harbor happens somewhere around here, and then 1942 we're in the war and everything. Notice that bills make up the majority of the debt that they issue during World War II. Why is that? If you saw Captain America, the First Avenger, you remember like the scene or that montage where Captain America is running around the country, putting on a stage show with like the singing ladies, and he knocks out fake Hitler and everything. What he was doing, he was being a salesman for bonds. Now, in the movie, it was a Series EE bonds, but if they were trying to be historically accurate, I mean, it's a comic book movie, but if they wanted to be historically accurate, what he would be selling is T-bills. Be selling his T-bills, because you see a lot of investors out there, they're not going to be certain about investing for long term, but they're happy to invest for short term. So they issue a lot more T-bills in war because there's a lot more uncertainty in war. So when Roosevelt needed to kick Hitler in the balls, the U.S. government issued bills, not bonds, because short-term debt is easier to swallow. It's like soda instead of medicine. Still ruins your teeth, but they don't gag as much. And now Trump and Bessent, they have reverse engineered that exact formula. So now the T-bill is just as important as the 10-year Treasury, while the rest of the internet is screaming about CPI numbers and pretending to understand what Jerome Powell's eyebrows are saying. The real source of crypto's next God candle is quietly cooking right here in front of you in America's debt machine. The entire market, your bags, your leverage, your dreams of retiring in Bali, your hopes of getting wife-changing money, whether that means you're ordering a mail order wife from, I don't know, where do they get them now? Ukraine, Russia? I don't know where they get them. Those countries are pretty busy right now. Your hopes of wife-changing money because your wife, you're gonna take her down to the plastic surgery center and have her transformed into Sydney Sweeney. They all come down to this here: those government IOUs and digital monopoly money that backs them. So let's talk about this step by step. I got some charts here that kind of show you the whole process. I'd take a screenshot of this if I were you guys, because this is going to be your salvation throughout this entire coming bull run. Remember, bull run still hasn't happened. Remember that chart I showed you from Bloomberg? The white line and the golden line. The white line is flat. That's the credit in the system. There's not a lot of it. So bull run hadn't happened yet. Hadn't even gotten started. When it does, this is what's going to happen here. And this is going to be something that I'd screenshot. I'd print this out, post it on the wall to remind you to hodl and not panic, because this is how it's going to play out, guys. Step one, the Treasury is going to vomit out a whole bunch of T-bills. All right? They need to borrow money again, because it always does. Wars are not going to pay for themselves. And you say, well, we're not at war. No, but our allies are, and we want to stay out of it. So we stay out of it by selling money or by selling weapons to our allies. So what they say is they're going to have Bessent come out, and he's not going to use these exact words, but here's what is going to be in between the lines of what he's saying. He's going to say, hey, market, we need an eye-watering amount of money, and in return, we'll give you these ultra-safe, boring pieces of paper that we call T-bills. They're basically financial Ambien with a pulse. Short-term debt that matures in under a year, and they pay interest. So it's they pay pretty good interest right now. Pay 4%. Somebody has to buy these. Banks, foreign governments, hedge funds, or stablecoin issuers. Stablecoin issuers. They're going to buy them. They become the digital alchemists of fiat. We're talking Tether, USDC, XRPL. JP Morgan is making a stablecoin. I think Trump's company just made one. These are the crypto world's version of a money printer, only slightly less shady than the actual money printers. And they claim that they're backed 1-to-1 with dollars. But here, what they're really backed up with is, wait for it, T-bills. That's what they're backed up for, because T-bills are liquid, they pay a yield, and Wall Street has decided to pretend that they're the same as cash. So when you give your hard-earned dollars, to mint a stablecoin, the issuer of that stablecoin buys a bunch of U.S. government debt, essentially using your speculative addiction to help finance America's war budget, or really America's budget. Doesn't even have to be war-related. So to buy more T-bills, stablecoin issuers have to mint more stablecoins, and to do that, people have to keep giving them cash or crypto. It's a flywheel of madness, right? Fiat in, Tether mints, Treasury gets funded. We all pretend this is normal. Then, step 3, the T-bill supply pumps the stablecoin factory. Imagine the Treasury opens up the floodgates, issuing the Niagara Falls of T-bills. Well, what happens next? Stablecoin issuers jump in like a kid at a candy store with stolen credit cards. They gobble up all those T-bills. They mint USDC, they mint USDT, and they unleash billions of dollars of freshly digitized dollars into the bloodstream of the crypto markets. These stablecoins don't just sit in cold storage next to your dead altcoin portfolio, your dead meme coin portfolio. They go places. They go into exchanges, OTC desks, and DeFi, degenerate gambling pits like Uniswap and BP Finance. It's not just liquidity. It's a digital tsunami of buying power. The liquidity doesn't sit still. That's step 4. It gets reckless. So now you got 20 billion in new Tether sloshing around the crypto ecosystem like tequila at a frat party. What do trading firms, what do whales, and the hopelessly over-leveraged 24-year-old do with all this? They buy. They buy Bitcoin, they buy Ethereum, they buy altcoins, they buy meme coins. Anything that moves in 5-minute candle increments, they buy it. It's all about reflexivity now. The more stable coins you mint, the more people anticipate crypto prices go up. So they start buying, which makes prices actually go up, which causes more people to buy. And then the whole thing becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of speculative insanity, which brings us to the final step here, the God candle, that massive green spike on a chart that looks like it was drawn by a toddler with a sugar addiction. It's not driven by fundamentals, guys. It's not driven by news. It's not driven by the halving. It's not driven because, it's year 4, and in year 4, we're supposed to go up really hard. It's driven by a cascade of liquidity, leverage, and FOMO. If you don't understand this by now, you're going to fail. And I'll tell you, all you other fools in mainstream crypto media, you guys don't cover this. I don't know why you don't cover it. Do you not know that this is what happens? Because if you don't know this is what happens, you need to stop streaming and just shut up and go home, because you really don't know what the holy hell you're talking about. You guys never talk about this. Instead, you want to focus on bull crap that doesn't matter, like technical analysis. What in God's name is wrong with you if you think technical analysis actually matters? I'm looking at you, Frankie Candles, and I'm looking at you, you dumbass Joshua Jake. You very stupid boy. When one whale rotates 200 million in Tether into Bitcoin, the algorithms front run it, the retail apes follow, the shorts get liquidated, and suddenly your 15-minute chart looks like it's trying to launch into orbit. It's digital cocaine. Because stablecoins are dry powder, on-chain cash, the gunpowder behind the explosions. So if Tether and Circle are minting like madmen to absorb the Treasury's debt tsunami, well, you can bet your overpriced ledger that Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Pulse Chain, HEX, PulseX, and even Inc. will soon be strapped with rockets. This isn't theory. It's a macroeconomic farce turned into market fuel. Now, might be some questions here. I'm sure somebody's going to ask, well, why are the stablecoin issuers going to buy T-bills? I mean, yeah, they can, but why would they? Sure, somebody's got that question, right? Okay, I'll answer that for you. Why do the stablecoin issuers buy T-bills? There's a very good explanation for that, son. Because sitting on cash is the financial equivalent of watching paint dry while your money rots. Stablecoin issuers, Tether, Circle, and other companies like them, They want to back every digital dollar they print with a real world something like actual dollars or dollar equivalents, cash equivalents. See, if you hoard a big pile of cash, well, that's acceptable in the regulatory sense. But does cash that you bury in the backyard or stuff under your mattress do anything for you? No. Does it earn interest? No. It loses money. It loses value, loses purchasing power due to inflation. So what do? They stuff it into something that earns interest. They're not going to just put it in a bank because banks can get frozen faster than you can say Silicon Valley Bank. And it's about as efficient as mailing your rent by carrier pigeon. So what they do is they buy short duration U.S. Treasury bills because they're liquid to sell faster than you can blink. They're practically risk-free until the government proves otherwise. They pay a little bit of interest, a pretty good rate of interest right now at 4%. And they're easy to verify, so auditors don't cry about it. Now, why are they going to buy T-bills? Like, why are they going to have a love affair with them? When Uncle Sam cranks out the issuance of T-bills, they start issuing more and more and more T-bills, and like they quadruple the size of the T-bill market. They're saying, "Give me more cash." The yield on those bills are going to crank up. You could see the yield on T-bills go all the way up to probably 5.5%, because there's so many T-bills to buy, and the demand hasn't grown yet. The amount of people out there to buy them hasn't grown yet. Now, if I did this with 10-year treasuries, I'm probably not going to have a very good luck at selling those because the buyers have to make a commitment for 10 years to get the yield. But on a T-bill, I only got to commit for 1 year and I can make 5.5%. Yeah, I'm buying. So more supply means better rates. It's classic supply and demand, and it's self-correcting. It's self-correcting because a higher yield is going to attract more of these stablecoin issuers to get better returns on their government IOUs instead of just letting them sit in cash, let their cash sit in cash. They'll happily shuffle their reserves from their boring old bank accounts into fresh, juicy T-bills that are going to earn 5%. And then when all this new money, the new demand, comes rushing into those T-bills, that is going to push the yields down because it pushes the T-bill prices up. And they have to mint more stable coins to buy the T-bills because they can't just buy it with cash out of their pocket there. They got to have 1-to-1, $1 in a T-bill for every $1 in stablecoin. Because the T-bill is what backs the stablecoin. It has a higher yield due to the increased supply. When that happens, when the T-bill has a higher yield due to its increased supply, and the stablecoins are buying it, what do you think happens to the yields of DeFi protocols that use stablecoins? They go up too. It's all dominoes. So if they go up, well, doesn't a higher return, a higher yield on these DeFi protocols on stablecoins attract more demand for stablecoins? I mean, are you telling me people hate money and they don't want free, easy money? Or, suppose like the stablecoin demand is flat, but they want better yields. See, if no one's asking for more USDT or Tether could still shuffle its reserves from cash to T-bills to chase those rates. Now, it doesn't increase the number of stablecoins in circulation. The total USDT supply stays the same. It's just the composition of what backs it that changes. Now, what's the catch? See, new T-bill supply means better yields, which attracts new dollars to stablecoins. Why does it? Well, traders want USD exposure that actually earns something. Arbitrage bots want stablecoins to game DeFi and centralized exchanges. Institutional players want on-chain dollars that don't just sit idle. And all this fresh capital is forcing stablecoin issuers to mint new tokens, which, of course, need to be backed up by, you guessed it, T-bills. So this is kind of like a snake eating its own tail or a dog chasing its own tail. I mean, it's going to go around for a while. Eventually, it will get tired and it will stop, and that's where we have the bear market. But it can go around for a long time. That dog can keep chasing its own tail. So this bull market can go on a lot longer than a lot of people think it will or think it can. So the more that the government issues debt, the more stable coins get minted, and then the more T-bills that can get bought. And then the more digital money is going to flood into the crypto market. So you see the invisible hand of this madness here. It's not some magical miracle tech breakthrough. It's just a dance between government debt issuance, stablecoin minting, and crypto liquidity. Now, let's go back to the Genius Act for a second. Why did they drop the Genius Act first? Why was this the first thing they wanted to do with crypto regulation? Very easy, very simple. They wanted to clear the runway for stablecoin issuers to gorge themselves on treasury bills, because stablecoin backing is T-bills by law now. Under the Genius Act, every payment stablecoin must be 100% backed by highly liquid assets. And guess what counts as a highly liquid asset? That's right. Short-term U.S. treasuries, including our beloved T-bills. So for every shiny USDT and USDC token that hits the blockchain, there has to be a corresponding stash of T-bills sitting quietly somewhere in a vault, earning interest and doing very little else. Translation. Every stablecoin minted is a legally mandated purchase of T-bills. It's not a choice, but a must. Bills because they wouldn't buy if Congress didn't make them. All right. Now, what happens next when fresh stablecoins like USDT and USDC hit the scene? Here's the part that should excite you the most. Where do all of these stablecoins go once they're created? Anybody want to take a guess? I need to like some more water here because I'm really dry. All this yelling has caused my throat dry out here. Anybody want to take a guess what happens to stablecoins when they get issued? Nobody know? Nobody want to know where they go? Anybody? Yoo-hoo. Oh, hey, what's this guy? Jome? Yeah, Jome, is that your name? Hey, you want to get on a live stream here with me and debate this? I can tell you haven't been watching this stream here. But hey, you want to get on a stream and debate this with me? I'll be happy to embarrass you. All right? Now, back to my question. What happens to all these stablecoins when they hit the scene? Where do they go? They typically funnel into centralized exchanges like Coinbase, like Gemini, like Kraken, where they're used to gobble up Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the usual suspects. DeFi protocols, they go into that because there's lending, there's staking, and there's a way we can earn some money. Or liquidity pools. And this is where the magic really kicks in. This should excite you the most here. Liquidity pools. Let me show you this here. Let's see, I think it's beefy.finance, right? Is that the one? So, why am I making a big deal out of this here? Like, why is something to get excited over? Now, take a look here. Here is the liquidity pool for Ethereum and USDT. Here's one for Strike and USDC. Notice that, like, a lot of these liquidity pools, they got a stable coin in them. What do we know about liquidity pools? They have to balance themselves out because of that thing that they call impermanent loss. Man, I really hate that name, impermanent loss. I think that's such a stupid title for something. I mean, can you guys call it something better? I mean, I say impermanent loss. Somebody goes, what's that? Or can we say something like imbalance loss or something that makes more sense? An impermanent loss, it doesn't make any sense to call it that. But no, it's like, here's another one with stable coins. Here's another one with stable coins and speculative assets. They're usually paired up. The best paying, back when they paid yield, the best paying liquidity pools on Pulse Chain, the best paying farms were the ones that were paired up with stable coins like PDI and USDC. So, when new stable coins are created and they're pushed into these liquidity pools, that is really good for your bags. Why is that? Well, you got to dump in equal dollar amounts of both assets into the pool. So if I got USDC and Ethereum in a pool, it's going to let people swap between them whenever they want. And in return, I get to earn the fees or the farming rewards, free money for putting the cash on the line. So suppose I threw $1 million of USDC into the pool. Well, I also have to throw in $1 million worth of Ethereum. There's no freebies there. That means if I don't already have it, I'm going to have to buy it. And what do you think a $1 million order of a coin is going to do to the coin's price? It's going to push it up. When you got yield chasers rushing to deploy these fresh stablecoins into LPs to farm those juicy APRs, see, every stablecoin needs a volatile partner in crime. Somebody's got to buy the ETH. Somebody's got to buy the Solana. Somebody's got to buy the Pulse chain or whatever volatile asset that matches the stablecoin stash. And what does buying Ethereum on the open market do? It pushes the price up. That's the buying pressure you want. So multiply that frenzy across a dozen pools, protocols, blockchains, and suddenly you have a full-blown systemic crypto buying spree is what you have. Do you remember DeFi summer of 2020, 2021, quarter one, when USDC and USDT supplies ballooned and DeFi tokens and the big boys like Ethereum shot through the roof? That's what happens. So imagine a bunch of users dumped USDT and Ethereum into a pool, and Ethereum's price skyrockets. Well, the pool's got to sell some ETH to keep its balance in check. Who buys that ETH? Well, swappers paying in USDT. And those traders might just be quick flip speculators, but here's the rub. This rebalancing action generates volume and price momentum. So if it keeps climbing, if Ethereum keeps climbing, and users keep piling stablecoins into liquidity pools, you get a feedback loop. More Ethereum bought, more volume, more swaps, more yield, more capital flooding in, and yep, even more Ethereum bought. And that is DeFi reflexivity in all its chaotic glory. So when fresh stablecoins are minted, it's not just a new token on the blockchain, it's a coordinated buying signal, a liquidity bomb. And the fuel for the next crypto price explosion all rolled into one. And this is why I'm all in. I'm not waiting for confirmation. Now, you guys, even though I made you incredibly bullish here, still don't go blowing everything into crypto, plowing everything into crypto. Dollar cost average if you're going to get in. Just keep doing a little dollar cost averages, because you know what happens every time you blow all your money on one purchase order? It goes down. And when you sell, it goes up. When you DCA, it goes straight across. But out of all those outcomes, the flat, straight across market is really the best outcome. You're not missing out on profits, and you weren't missing out on good prices. So, if you're going to do this here, if you're going to trade like I am, get all in like I am, get in a little bit at a time. We still got a long time here before this bull run gets going. It has not started yet. We got a while before it will happen. Earliest, it could get started in September. It's possible it doesn't get started until next year because of who's cock blocking the market right now. Now, the Ethereum bull run, when that comes, it's going to be like a tsunami. All right, because you see, Solana, they already rose from the FTX graveyard like some crypto Jesus with better branding. Ethereum's next because the institutional investors, they are going to be really pumping it. They're buying a whole bunch of it right now. They're going to be the ones that are hodling and holding the price up and creating a floor for it. These are like the institutional investors. They were really dumb 2 years ago. Back 2 years ago, they thought DeFi was a wrapper. But now they've educated themselves, and they are absolutely shitting themselves over Ethereum's fundamentals and potential. They don't know what a smart contract is, but they have decided to be bullish about it. So, what are my targets? I don't know when these are going to happen. I think they will happen this cycle. I don't know when this cycle is going to blow up. Might not happen until next year. But here's what I'm thinking based on this here. If instead of $30 trillion of new money being created, if it's going to be 40 trillion, which it could be based on these stable coins, then Bitcoin would be at least 250,000. Ethereum would be at least 20,000. And then the big one that we've all been waiting for, HEX, would be at $7 on Ethereum. I don't know about the Pulse chain HEX, man. I imagine that'd be a lot higher. But if Ethereum is at 20,000, HEX would be at $7. And then your jaw is going to be on the floor. All right. Any bears out there or anybody that disagrees with anything I said today, let's see you put your money where your mouth is. Or let's see you just put your balls where your mouth is and get on a stream here with me and face me. We'll go on RH Max's stream where we have to be respectful to each other. I'm not going to shout and scream at you. We'll have a nice, respectful debate, but show me that you got a spine and you're not just some idiot trash talker or an alt account for chicken rat crypto. Cairo out.